Hey everybody, it's the Commodore from the Clan of the Grey Wolf, and you are watching the 7th installment of the weekly Wringer series. I can't even believe we've gone through 7 of these already. Time definitely flies when you're having fun. Today we're going to wrap up last week's Wringer questions surrounding the portable gaming that all of you know and love. We're going to have our first interactive comment today. And then lastly, of course, I'm going to propose the Wringer for next week, which really gets to the essence of geekdom. So stay tuned. All right, that's what we call a teaser in the biz, but I'm going to start off today with a little bit of an apology. Past couple weeks, some of you definitely have noticed, and I want to thank all of you that sent any comments or some emails over to me for well-wishing. I certainly do appreciate it. Last couple weeks have definitely been tough for me, had a lot going on in terms of scheduling-wise, but as promised, I got the weekly Wringer out, and it did not suffer. It was there. You all still responded tremendously, and I want to thank you for that. But this week, I am definitely back to 100%. I am well rested. I have my Clan of the Grey Wolf cup of coffee, and I am poised and ready to go. So with that being said, let's get down to business. So last week's weekly Wringer, as I said, really focused around portable gaming. Specifically, obviously, because we got details about the 3DS, and I didn't know this, but we were going to be right around the corner from getting the details that have now been released about the PSP2/NGP, Next Generation Portable, depending on how you want to talk about it. But in any case, with all this handheld portable gaming stuff going on in our minds, I thought it'd be good to ask you, what is your favorite portable or handheld game of all time? And you guys came up and answered in droves, and I want to thank you all for your responses. All of them very legitimate. Let's go down the list of some of the things, as I always do, to highlight some of the comments I thought were really, really good. First of all, I thought fantastic work in terms of identifying Link's Awakening. It looks like everybody really is on board with that. I could not agree more, to be honest. I think Link's Awakening, either in the DX version for color or in the all the glory of green and not green of the dot matrix screen of the classic Game Boy, Link's Awakening is a classic portable game. Really captures that same energy of Link to the Past on Super Nintendo, which for my money is still my favorite Zelda game. I don't know why I told you that, because now that means I can't ask you about it in future Ringers, but that's okay. No problem. I will definitely find other questions for all of you Zelda-phobes, or Zelda-philes, I should say, not Zelda-phobes that are afraid of it. Are there Zelda-phobes? Maybe there are. Zelda-philes out there that are really interested in talking about Zelda. I'll ask some questions that don't surround what your favorite game is, but mine is definitely Link to the Past. So besides Link's Awakening, some of the other things, some of you are not handheld gamers. Well, you know what? I have to say that for my money, I'm not nearly as much a handheld gamer as I used to be. And the reason why is because of casual games, games on phones and things like that. I have a smartphone now, and I utilize the gaming systems on that for when I want to burn 10 minutes or there's something here and there. But anything that really takes that longer time quotient, if I have to spend a lot of time playing a game, I'm not probably going to be doing it on my handheld. The sparse time that I actually get to play video games now usually is spent on a console. And for everything that I'm doing portably, it's mostly done on the cell phone now. Now, any of you that come up to PAX East and might be seeing Rue or myself there, you will probably see us playing DS, because we definitely will be playing DS there. That is the time of year where the DS definitely gets the dust blown off of it, and you know, we catch up. We catch up on some old classics on the DS. All right, so another mention I want to talk about is Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. Great suggestion. Love Final Fantasy Tactics, one of my favorites of all time, especially in the Final Fantasy series. Definitely one of my favorites. Really tossed things up a little bit, made it a little bit different, which I really enjoyed. So Final Fantasy Tactics, can't argue with that logic. Gotta say though, one of the obvious answers for this question that I was positively fishing for was Pokemon. Now, some of you definitely jumped up and said, yeah, Pokemon is my favorite portable game of all time. Well, that's great. I'm not going to argue with you. But I have to say I agree with Nightcrawler. I don't have much love for Pokemon. I don't get it. I don't understand why people really like it. Right now, Rue is watching this video, and he's saying all the nasty things he says whenever I pan Pokemon or Firefly or any of that other garbage that he likes that I can't stand. But in any case, I'm not a big Pokemon fan, and I just don't understand, guys. And I tried to play, maybe not for long enough, but I tried to get it done, and I can't connect with that stuff. So anyway, got to agree with Nightcrawler. No love for Pokemon. I got to give mad props though to the male white mage for talking about the Merlin, the handheld Merlin. Wow, pulling that one out of the dirt, huh? I have to say, I love the idea that the Wringer is in some way, even if it's small, it's in some way educational. Somebody learned something or hears about a game that they didn't know about before, or their technology, whatever, what have you, right? The Wringer should be, at its essence, in some way, educational. It's about spreading ideas. Now, had I heard of Merlin before? Yes. Did I know anything about it? Absolutely not. But major props to the male white mage, not only for calling it out, but for posting links about it so that all of us could jump up and get our educational fill. And I definitely did. And now my the sum of all of my gaming knowledge has definitely been added to thanks to the male white mage. So thanks a bunch for that. In terms of Mike352, want to say a big thanks for mentioning a game that I have not played. Some of you mentioned a few games that I definitely haven't even seen before or haven't played, but this game, I've heard nothing but great things about it, and I think it probably would be at the, or close to the top of a lot of people's lists, and that is The World Ends With You. I definitely would like to be able to play that game. If I had the kind of time to play a portable game, that would probably be right at the top of the list of the games I'd like to give a shot at right now. The World Ends With You, fantastic mention. Got to make mention for Alatar coming up with Dragon Warrior 3. Fantastic suggestion. Could not agree more. Obviously, Rue stepped in, gave his props for that. Dragon Warrior is a series that I have loved on the NES and otherwise. But I have not played a tremendous amount of Dragon Warrior 3 on the Game Boy, or so I don't know a whole lot about it. But it's a great mention. It's got to be on that top 10, I think. At the very least, it's got to be up there in terms of RPGs. So fantastic mention. Thanks for the contribution. Now we have, as I teased at the top of the show, you will see in front of me. This is a Scientific D6 purchased at Gen Con, and I have it in my hand because Youngblood challenged me to throw a D6 and to call out, to complete his comment, as it were, of what his favorite portable and handheld game of all time really is. So without further ado, I'm going to be rolling this D6 and finding out that his favorite game is number 5, which is Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney DS. This is a series that I am familiar with. I have played in only the smallest way, but I have to say it is definitely up there. If you ever go to a convention, a la PAX or the like, you're going to see a lot of people dressed up as Phoenix Wright. It's a very, very popular series. It's one of those things that has really helped to sustain and drive portable gaming all over the world. It's a very popular game, no matter where you go. And yeah, screaming objection at the screen definitely is a fantastic opportunity for gaming. And I'm sure it's moved the entire genre forward, or the entire media as an art form forward by Ace Attorney. So anyway, if you have a problem with Youngblood's suggestion, then definitely let him know that you hate Phoenix Wright and you don't understand why he chose it, and he should have gone with clearly number 3, which was Super Mario Land 2, 6 gold coins. All right. And by the way, guys, I'm definitely open to doing more interactive stuff. I like that idea. Don't steal Youngblood's D6 idea, though. That's now his. But if you come up with other ways that we can interact, I'm all ears. Let me know. So, without further ado, I'm going to tell you, and I know none of you really actually were, none of you really care what my opinion is, and this is like a video that's a total waste of time for you. But I'm going to tell you now what my opinion is in terms of the question from last week. I have to say I agree 100% with Tommy James, 100% with Rue. My favorite portable game, and I think the best portable game of all time, is Tetris. Very simple, very easy. It's Tetris. So many reasons why. Not just because it is a fantastic game that you can play almost endlessly and the fun factor never really leaves, but I have to say also, it is without question one of the most influential games of all time, and the platform that most people know it by initially is the Game Boy. So this game really helped. Tetris, along with Pokemon, are two games that really kept Nintendo afloat during the more difficult times. And by more difficult times, I mean the 15 years that came immediately before the release of the Wii. Nintendo had some very lean years there with the GameCube, and with some very questionable decisions about that they've made post Super Nintendo. And I just think that Tetris, along with which was a driving force behind buying Game Boy hardware, and Pokemon, really helped to keep Nintendo afloat. And it's really the only reason, or two of the only reasons, that we're talking about Nintendo the way that we're talking about it now. Because otherwise we'd probably be talking about it the way that we spoke about Sega. And that is absolutely quantifiable. Look it up, guys, and take a look. Those two games really drove Nintendo through very difficult times that would have otherwise been very unprofitable. So yeah, I agree, Tetris. And by the way, there is a fantastic documentary on YouTube you should all check out. I'm going to give you a couple, or I'm going to see if it's still there. I watched it probably about a year ago, but I'm going to try to link to it. It's a documentary done by the BBC that surrounds how the Tetris game actually came to be part of Nintendo's property. Out of Soviet Russia in the early 80s, came to be a property that Nintendo could license and sell and eventually put onto the Game Boy that we all now know and love. So that's my opinion. Definitely Tetris all the way, and I know that some of you are definitely going to be, no way, it's got to be Pokemon, but or any of the myriad DS Final Fantasy remakes, which I cannot agree with more. Those are fantastic games, but the best all time, which was the question, it's got to be Tetris, guys. All right. So now that we've wrapped that up, we've had our first interactive comment with the D6. It's now time to talk about the Wringer for next week. I mentioned that it gets to the very essence of geekdom, and it absolutely does. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the diversified audience that I have. Some of you have not yet graduated maybe high school or primary, secondary school, right? So you have a different experience than some of others of you out there who might be just getting into the workforce or in college, whatever the case might be. Some of you that have been in the workforce for a decade, right? Whatever the case might be, I just wanted to really make mention that this question is probably going to strike all of you a little bit differently, but that's okay. That's what the Wringer is all about. Let's bring all of our perspectives to the table. So I wanted to ask a question about, as I say, really what it means to be a geek. And so right now, you're looking at somebody, you're going to a website that is obviously geek-oriented. You are watching a video of a geek in front of a video camera. You probably yourself in some way, shape, or form are a geek. And so I wanted to ask you the question in this week's Weekly Wringer of, are you proud or are you afraid of being labeled a geek in the communities that you attend? Maybe work, school, your group of friends, for example. Whatever the case might be, the question for this week, really, I want to know why you are either afraid of or proud of being labeled a geek. I know it's a little bit off the beaten path, certainly different than what we asked last week, but I know you guys will step up to the plate and you'll knock this one out of the park. So that is the 7th installment of the Weekly Wringer. Definitely let me know what your feelings are there. And I also wanted to say too that I am always open for comments. There is a forum. If you click on the forums in the Clan of the Grey Wolf, you can actually go. There is a Weekly Wringer forum where I would love to hear what you think if you have suggestions outside of our normal format of commenting on the video on the main page. So continue to comment. If you have any suggestions, please post them to the forum, or you can always email me at Commodore128@clanofthegreywolf.com. So thanks everybody for watching. That has been the 7th installment of the Weekly Wringer series for the last week in January, the first week of February 2011. I am the Commodore with the Clan of the Grey Wolf, and there is no reset button.